Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here in my quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and this is the show where we're going to talk about the things that we love, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all that good stuff. Joining me here today, all the way from the Rubservatory, writer, director, producer, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing today, sir?
John, I'm basking in the glory that was Toy Story 5, and I want to wish everybody a happy Juneteenth.
Oh, that we both saw Toy Story last night. That's right. And you and I, just to be clear, you and I have not talked about it yet.
No.
But we are going to talk about it here. And once again, as we kind of said in the opening here, we are here to talk about movies and movie news, TV and streaming, those things that give us joy. That's what we're here to discuss. We are glad that you guys decided to join us in this joy orgy that we're going to have here today. No protection required. All right. With that all down, it's a great intro to talk about Toy Story. So yesterday, both Rob and I, separately, went to go see Toy Story 5 last night. Now, of course, the initial reactions that came out were all very good. And then the full reviews came out, and the reviews are staggering, 93%. And now we have an audience score as well. There's a 93% on the audience score as well. And here's the funny thing. We talked about this the other day. At 93%, 93%, which most film franchises never get one film that high. Toy Story 5 is officially the lowest critic score. The lowest critic score of all the Toy Story movies at 93%, which is crazy. So I obviously went in to go watch it with a great deal of interest to see how well the film would turn out. And I got to say, I put up my out of theater reaction yesterday on this. I thoroughly enjoyed the film. Now, I also said when I came out, no, I don't think it's as good as Toy Story 3. All right. It's like Toy Story 3 to me is still the best of the Toy Story movies. And I'm not sure yet where I would rank it, whether I'd rank it above Toy Story 1 and 2, in the middle of Toy Story 1 and 2, under both Toy Story 1 and 2. I'm not sure how I would rank it yet. I need more time to digest it when it comes to Toy Stories 1 and 2, but I definitely think it's better than Toy Story 4, which I very much enjoyed. Like, I enjoyed Toy Story 4, but I do think it's the weakest of the Toy Story movies. And you know what's funny about it is that I don't think I had a moment in Toy Story 5 where I thought I was going to pass out laughing. Like where I was laughing so hard that I had such an enormous belly laugh, I thought I would fall out of my chair. I didn't have a single one of those watching Toy Story 5. What I did have, though, was a lot of giggling. Like, no, now Lone Star, you will see that evil will always triumph because good is dumb moments, but a lot of laughing nonetheless, like a lot of giggling and smiling and smirking throughout the film. I will say this, though. I thought it was the most emotionally satisfying of all the Toy Story movies. Like, I don't think anything is ever going to top, Rob, you know that scene in Toy Story 3 where like all the toys are about to go into the incinerator and they're holding hands. Like,
yes, I know that scene.
When it comes to pure emotional moments, I don't think anything is ever going to touch that. But I found throughout the movie itself, there were multiple times in this film where I'm like, shut up, I'm not crying. Like where I felt myself starting to get choked up, including, this doesn't give anything away. Actually, I think this moment's in one of the trailers. There's a moment where Bonnie says to her mom, "Why doesn't anybody want to be my friend?" I wanted to go across the street and beat the shit out of the other kid's parents and said, "Make your kids be Bonnie's friend." Something in me, when Bonnie says, "Why won't anybody be my friend?" Something in me broke. And there are a number of those types of moments through the movie that I found so emotionally hitting. And I mean that in the most wonderful of ways. I really, really do. Including, I won't give any details so you won't know the scenario, but Rob, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's a moment where a kid picks up a Buzz Lightyear, Bud Light, where a kid has picked up a Buzz Lightyear, and I felt it. They do this little thing again. I won't say what it was, but I felt it. And then when a playtime thing starts to happen, and the kind of the resolution with Jesse happens, and I just got through the entire film, and I felt joy, and I felt entertained, and yeah, best of the Toy Story movies, no. But did this movie to me, Rob, represent everything that's wonderful about the Toy Story films? To me, yes. It really did. And it's really nice to see them. Like, I wasn't as big of a fan of Hoppers as most other people were. Like, don't get me wrong, I didn't dislike Hoppers. I liked it. But I didn't think it was Pixar level great. It was nice coming out of that now back into Toy Story and kind of seeing that brilliance of Toy Story. And, you know, Rob, I'm going to admit too, I was a little apprehensive at first when I started hearing everybody saying this is Jesse's movie, because, you know, I grew up with Buzz and Woody.
Sure.
But right from the beginning of the movie, like as soon as the movie starts, you immediately understand why this is Jesse's movie. And it was the right move. It was 100% the right move. And yeah, man, like, does it replace Project Hail Mary for me as my favorite film of the year? No, but I loved it. I can't wait to go back and watch it again, actually. Anyway, Rob, you had a chance to watch Toy Story. You and I have not talked about it yet.
No.
So what did you take away from Toy Story? How did you like it?
First of all, I have to say that it really hit hard to me because, look, I mean, I'm surrounded by toys. I've never stopped. I wouldn't say I play with them the way I used to play with them, but I love toys. I've always loved toys, and yet
no, you don't say. I'm looking at your shelves. You
I know.
don't say.
And the message of tech replacing, like there was a couple of really haunting shots in this movie where they're panning across the neighborhood, and you just see kids in each of the windows of the houses just sitting like completely mesmerized by these screens, and there's no imagination happening. You know, and that's what playing with toys is. You're engaging your imagination, and they did some really interesting stuff, what it looks like when you're playing with your toys and you're in your imagination. I mean, I know this is Toy Story, but they did some really fun stuff with that. But I have to say, when this movie opened, it kind of opens with this cold open that has nothing immediately to do with the story that's being told. And it has to do with a shipping container, presumably coming from Hong Kong, full of toys. And I'm like, where is this going? And I have to say, this ongoing thing with what that was delighted me to no end. And there is a moment where Buzz, the original Buzz, our Buzz, plays into this and is necessary. And I just thought this movie was so clever. And I was really caught up in the emotion of it all, and I really understood why they, like you said, they made it more of Jesse's story. But I really think they incorporated Buzz and Woody in the film quite well. I just wish, you know what, my only criticism of the movie was there's a couple of great new characters. Yeah. The Conan O'Brien character was Smarty out of control. Pants. Smarty, but when you find out what Smarty Pants is, I mean, it was absolute genius. But I did miss a couple of our older characters, the older pantheon of toys. You know, they didn't play as much of a role as I might have liked, but that's a minor criticism. But I was like you, I was chuckling, and I did get choked up near the end of the movie.
Oh,
you know, I got choked up near the end of the movie, and then this ongoing thing with what I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but this ongoing thing with what happens in the container from
with the elements of the container,
elements of the container. That was my favorite thing, the way it escalated and how it just kept evolving. And I just thought that was I don't know who came up with that one, but that was the greatest thing ever. I couldn't get enough of that. And it was so, by the end of the movie, I was touched. I was
Yeah.
moved. This, like you said, the end of Toy Story 3 is really hard hitting because you're dealing with annihilation. but
Yeah.
but this movie really, I really personally identified with it. And in terms of I felt a very everything about this movie connected with me sort of on a very personal level, which I didn't expect. And I just sat there entranced and delighted by the whole film. And I was the ending, I was like, wait, no, give me some more. When it was over, I was delighted by it, and I was moved by it, and it hit hard for me.
You know what's funny? So many people, including you, and I read so many people going into the movie saying, "Oh my God, Smarty Pants steals the movie." I'm going to be honest, I was not as enamored with Smarty Pants, the Conan O'Brien character. I didn't dislike him. I'm just saying I wasn't at all as enamored with Smarty Pants as a lot of other people were. Although I will say this, you know how there's a lot of this in the trailers. Whenever, one of the kids is playing with the toys, you kind of go into fantasy mode.
Yeah, I love that.
As one of the kids is playing with Smarty Pants, they go into fantasy mode, and all of a sudden Smarty Pants has Conan O'Brien's hair.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that I laughed out loud. I thought that was pretty damn funny.
I have to say that I was unfamiliar when the movie last night. I was too old to have a Smarty Pants. And once when I saw what it was in the movie, I'm like, wait a minute, is this real? and I had to, because I lived in apparently the caveman era, so I never had a Smarty Pants. And I just found it, the whole thing was amusing. And I really enjoyed, there is a message of sort of, in a way that I didn't expect, combining tech and play, which was something that evolved. I thought it was just going to be, toys are great, screw the technology.
Yeah.
But
I was afraid of that too, because you and I talked about this the other day, where it's like, there was a moment in one of the trailers that I thought, oh, maybe like ultimately the message of Toy Story is not necessarily that tech is bad. And I really appreciated coming out of it that, yeah, that like it's the message of the movie is not that toys good, tech bad.
Right.
That ultimately wasn't the message of the movie. And I really appreciated the nuance they found in that and how to make that work. And again, they found a way to also make it touching. So I really appreciated that myself.
I did too.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. Did you have a chance to see Toy Story 5 so far? If so, what did you think? I don't think it's nearly the best of the Toy Story movies, but it is worthy of the Toy Story name. I thought it represented all the things that are great about Toy Story movies myself. What did you think about it? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Well, as we mentioned, Toy Story 5, which we both really liked, is now out in theaters. And it seems like we're not the only ones who went to go to see it. Because according to this story in Deadline, Toy Story 5's previews from preview night rung up $17.5 million. That is not only the best opening preview night of the Toy Story movies, it's the biggest of the year for any movie, including Michael, which I think Michael had a preview night of like $12 million. It's also the second biggest opening night ever in the history of any animated film, only coming in behind Incredibles 2, which made, I think, 18.5 million. So 1 million more than Toy Story 5 did. And what did Incredibles 2 ultimately end up doing on its full opening weekend? $187 million on its opening weekend. So if you now want to try to calculate what that would mean, like we talked the other day, Rob, about the fact that they were projecting minimum $150 million opening for Toy Story 5, which would by far make it the biggest opening for any film this year. If you're going to look at the comps with Incredibles 2 having just 1 million more, 18.5, I think we could be looking at Toy Story 5 having 160, 170, maybe $180 million opening, which would just be absolutely insane. It
Yeah.
would be absolutely insane if it were able to ring up those types of numbers. And here's where it becomes really impressive. In the fact that Toy Story 5 is now, like, how old did we say it is now, Rob? Like, it's got to be getting close to 30 years, the Toy Story franchise. It's got to be almost 30 years old, but where something like He-Man failed, it's because He-Man hasn't had a completely relevant iteration every 4 or 5 or 6 years between when it first came out and now. Toy Story has been with all of us always. Like, it was with us, and then your kids, and then depending on how old you are, your kids' kids. And it just kind of speaks to the fact that there is something so beloved about Toy Story 5. And I'm going to say this. I think part of the reason for the result, and I think most of you would agree with this, the results that Toy Story is seeing already isn't necessarily just the fact that it's stayed relevant or people trust Pixar. It speaks to the continued and consistency of excellence of the Toy Story movies themselves. Like, I know there are some people out there, Rob, that like to poo-poo on Toy Story 4. I don't know what you're smoking, but whatever, all film is subjective. If it hit you differently, I respect that. To me, well, the weakest of the Toy Story films, I even thought Toy Story 4 was very entertaining. Like Forky and Kaboom, and I just thought it was really good. Maybe not as good as 1, 2, and 3, but I thought it was really good. And I think the fact that just Toy Story for literal generations, combined with the fact that every time they've made a Toy Story movie, they have never disappointed us, has all kind of accumulated. And the fact that we see the box office returning to pre-pandemic levels and all that kind of stuff has led to this. Anyway, Rob, you had a chance. You saw this biggest opening night of the year so far. What do you think contributed to that? And how big of an opening weekend do you think Toy Story 5 can ultimately have here?
Well, I went and saw it on an IMAX screen, and again, talk about 4 quadrants. I mean, whole family showed up with little kids, and they're all dressed in Toy Story shirts, mom and dad and kids. And it was a delightful way to see the film. There was total excitement in the theater. People were flocking to the movie. And I mean, there is an installed fan base for these films that go back 31 years. And it was, it's kind of like what it's like going to Comic-Con now, where you see entire families, grandparents, parents, and kids all at Comic-Con together. This franchise, definitely, the parents were as excited as the kids. And the kids, like these young kids, this was probably their first Toy Story movie in a theater. So that's what it was looking like. I was seeing kids that couldn't have been older than 6 or 7, that they're wearing their Toy Story shirts because this has to be the gateway franchise that kids first watch, when they're little. So it was fun, John, going into that theater, seeing multi-generational family event movie going. I already had a big smile on my face right before I even sat down. And I think that when you have a franchise like that has consistently delivered over 5 films, that's something special. And when you have, when parents are as eager to jump in a car and go to the movie theater and take their 6 or 7-year-old kids along with them, I mean, that's when you have something really special. I wouldn't be surprised if they make more of these in another 6 or 7 or 9 or 10 years, that you have grandparents, parents, and kids, 3 or 4 generations of families going to enjoy this movie. And that's when I thought to myself, this movie is going to make a lot of money.
Well, I mean, and you and I have talked about this over the past couple of weeks too. It's the fact that Pixar and Disney have no timetable to make another Toy Story movie. They never do. They have this diehard rule. Andrew Stanton, who did a terrific job directing this film, by the way.
Amazing.
I remember him talking years ago when somebody asked him, do you ever think you'll make another Toy Story movie? I think this was before Toy Story 3. Maybe it was just before Toy Story 4. And he said, well, we never say we'll never do another Toy Story, but we have no mandate to do any more either. If the right idea that just blows us all away comes along, and we think this is a story that should be told, then we'll do it. Which is why, this 30-year-old franchise doesn't have 12 entries into it. It's got
Right.
5. And I think you're right, Rob. As long as they keep continuing to that philosophy, I don't see any reason to believe they wouldn't make more if they come up with the right ideas, and why they wouldn't continue to make boatloads of money if they do. Because I'll keep going back.
Something else too that struck me that I didn't mention, I thought the voice acting in the film was terrific.
It was top notch.
I mean, not that should be that should be at all surprising, but I really enjoyed. The performances stuck with me. I was really struck by everybody's performances, and I'm like, wow, that's part of the immersion for me. It's sometimes hard, to get into animated movies as much as I want to. That's why I always watch Japanese movies dubbed. I mean, subtitled, because I don't want to listen to the American. I can't deal with the American dubbing. It sounds too strange to me. So to see these movies like this, it was just great. I just loved it. And by the way, Randy Newman's score was great. And not that I wouldn't expect it to be, but really, really, he did a wonderful job scoring this movie.
They weren't the key, most important characters, and they never have been in the film. I will say I didn't think it would bother me at all, but having Slink Dog talk, I really notice it's not Jim Varney.
Yeah.
And this one particularly, when Mr. Potato Head talks, and it's not Don Rickles, they did a very good job emulating the voices. But I have to admit that this was the first time it kind of struck me. And somebody in the live chat was just asking a second ago, do you think they could continue on without Buzz or Woody? I don't think so. I don't think there's a need to. I mean, I think even though the great thing about Toy Story is you can take a Toy Story 5 and make, say, Jessie the main character. But the franchise is still Buzz and Woody. You know what I mean? Even though you can have Toy Story 6 could focus on Bo Peep or something along those lines. But could you do it if we didn't have Tim Allen or Tom Hanks? And that I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Toy Story 5 just had the biggest preview night of the year out of any movie and the second biggest in history for any animated film. What do you think contributed to that, and how big of an opening weekend do you think it can have? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? I just recently completed another leg of the movie meetup tour where we did Columbus, Boston, New York, and Toronto. And when I was getting ready to go out on that trip, a lot of you guys recommended to me that I should check out the audiobook version of Dungeon Crawler Carl. And now, according to reports, that thing is coming to the big screen. CBR is reporting that Peacock's Dungeon Crawler Carl series gets major update from the original creator. They wrote this. The creator of Dungeon Crawler Carl just gave fans a massive update on the upcoming streaming series. It might even be exactly the news they were hoping to hear. Dungeon Crawler Carl creator and author Matt Dinneman posted to Threads late on June 18th to confirm that Peacock has officially greenlit the hotly anticipated live-action streaming adaptation of the hit lit RPG series. Surprise! I'm happy to announce that our friends at Peacock have officially greenlit Dungeon Crawler Carl television series, he wrote. Then he goes on to write, Dinneman went on to confirm some of the production team behind the upcoming Dungeon Crawler Carl series, noting me, Chris Yost, and Seth MacFarlane of Family Guy fame, and his team at Fuzzy Door are all really excited to get to work. So I've got to imagine there are going to be a lot of people out there, Rob, that are very excited to hear this. Now, full disclosure, I never got around to getting Dungeon Crawler Carl for the trip. I ended up watching something else and playing a lot of Nintendo while we were on the road. I still got to get around to doing that. But so I have no personal vested interest in this, but I got to say, hearing that Seth MacFarlane is attached to it, is very intriguing and very
Yeah.
interesting to me. Now, I should go through this just for anybody who doesn't know anything about it. Like maybe you're a kind of like me and you don't know much about it. Here's the official logline. It says this. The official logline for Dungeon Crawler Carl reads, an alien invasion has wiped out most of humanity, and any survivors are forced to fight for their lives on a sadistic intergalactic game show. Sounds bad, right? Now trying doing it with bare feet and a stuck-up, self-centered, tiara-wearing talking cat as your partner. The logline continues, welcome to Dungeon Crawler World, Earth, where the apocalypse will be televised. And Coast Guard vet Carl finds himself stuck with his ex-girlfriend's award-winning show cat, Princess Donut, the Queen Anne Chonk, as they try to survive the end of the world, fighting monsters, aliens, and insane AI, and even other survivors, all for the sake of good TV. Survival is optional. Entertainment is not. So, sounds good to me. I'm intrigued by this. Anyway, Rob, have you ever read any of the Dungeon Crawler Carl stuff? What do you think about this? What do you think about the addition of Seth MacFarlane? Your thoughts?
I, like you, or just now, I was like, I completely was ignorant of this franchise. So when I read about this, I think I read about it yesterday afternoon. I was like reading up on what this was, and I'm like, what? This sounds bananas to me. But then with Seth MacFarlane's involvement, I was like, okay, I can see this image right here. I see the appeal. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, because for me, I'm a little bit hit and miss on Seth MacFarlane's comedy. Like, I loved the first Ted movie.
Me too.
I hated Ted too. And it was the reason being is Ted 1 asks you to believe that Ted is alive, but everything else in the movie plays kind of normally. But in Ted 2, everything is outlandish. And there was just something about, like, I've watched Ted way more times than I care to admit. But then the Western he did with Charlize Theron, I wanted it to be funnier than it was.
A Million Ways to Die in the West.
A Million Ways to Die in the West. Yeah.
It had some really good moments, though.
It has really good moments.
It had some really good moments.
But I'm hoping this, I read about what this is, and I'm like, oh, I'm in. If Seth MacFarlane does this, I'm in. I'll watch. Because I just want to see what they're going to do. And I wonder if Fallout, the success of Fallout, had something to, they looked at that and said, oh, okay.
You know what, though? I was thinking about this earlier. More than Fallout, I think the success of Project Hail Mary probably had more to do with that.
I can see that.
I mean, just with the fact that you took this beloved literary thing and it just translated so great and people embraced it. What do you think about doing it as live action series as opposed to a movie version of it, though?
I think that a series could be fun. I mean, a movie, I think something like this, a series, it might need a little bit more time to unfold so you buy into it, whereas a movie only has 90 minutes to 2 hours. And I think I like it as a series. I think it could be good.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? Apparently, we've got a Dungeon Crawler Carl live action series coming. Don't expect probably to see it hit air until like 2028 if they're just announcing the beginning of development of it now, I would guess. But who knows? Maybe it'll come later in 2027. Do you think this will work well as a television series? Are you one of the people who have read the source material? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? I don't care what anybody else says. I love Ron Howard and Jim Carrey's The Grinch. I love that movie. I don't watch it every Christmas year, but I definitely could watch it every Christmas. I think it's charming and fun, and the way Jim Carrey was able to bring the Grinch to life in that thing, I just thought is wonderful. And I know a lot of people say they don't like it. Fair enough. Whatever. I adore it. I think it's absolutely great. But I never in my life would have expected them to announce, as they have here on Variety, that Ron Howard and Jim Carrey are coming back to do a sequel. I think the original came out in 2000. I think we're like, this thing's over 25 years old. And they're talking about coming back and doing another one. This is what they wrote. Jim Carrey and Ron Howard may be heading back to Whoville. Universal and Imagine Entertainment are developing a sequel to 2000's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, a family smash that dominated the box office, earning more than $350 million, a huge sum at the time. In addition to Carrey, who starred as the Grinch, Howard is expected to return as the director. Brian Grazer, who directs almost everything Ron Howard does, or who produces almost everything Ron Howard does, the co-founder of Imagine with Howard, is expected to come back to produce the film as well. Now, it should be noted here that they are not saying that this is like 100% locked, guaranteed. They're saying it's in the final stages of them doing it and all that kind of stuff. So, but once you get to this point, it's pretty much a lock. So let's just operate for now on the assumption that this is fully happening, as it looks like it is. I love it. I'm not going to lie. I love it. I'm really curious about two things. One, do they bring back the original girl who played Cindy Lou Who? Because I recently saw an interview with her and I'm like, oh, if you want to feel old, just flip on an interview and see now the fully adult, all grown up Cindy Lou Who. It's like, no, you're supposed to be 10. So I'm curious about that. But here's the other really interesting thing that was in the article. They quoted Jim Carrey from, I believe, a 2024 interview where somebody asked him if he ever thought he would come back to the Grinch. And he said he'd be open to it. I mean, he loves the character, but apparently the process of getting into this costume and getting into this makeup and just being in that makeup and being in that costume, he said it was torture. He said just the process of getting it all on was insane. He said then being just in it, I found it hard to breathe, all that kind of stuff. He said maybe if we did another one, we could do motion capture next time. Like if we ever, remember, this is a couple of years ago, but he said, maybe if we do another one with today's technology, maybe we could do motion capture. And listen, Rob, I've never been in the position where I've had to be in a makeup chair for 7 hours every day and having all of that put on you. And then the 3-hour process of getting it all off. That's like 10 hours of your day, just getting into and out of the costume. But dude, I am of the belief that there are absolutely times that motion capture, CGI, effects work on a character are absolutely the way to go. But this isn't one of them. I don't care how good your algorithm is or anything. Nothing can mimic Jim Carrey. And actually having Jim Carrey in the makeup, in the costume, and having that whole performance be completely him, I don't think that's something you sacrifice. And Jim Carrey's not young anymore. I mean, guys in the live chat, if you can look it up, how old is Jim Carrey now? But he's in his 60s. Minimum, he's in his 60s. I don't know how close to 70 he's getting, but I don't know that dude wants to be sitting now in a chair for 10 hours a day doing that. I get that. I can appreciate that. I really, really can. But I just think if you're going to do it again, you've got to have it in his costume. We got Came again is saying 64. He's 64 years old. So I get it. I appreciate, but take your time, whatever. I just want to see him in that costume again. Anyway, Rob, you have heard this. It sounds like they're coming back. Good idea, bad idea, too late. What do you think about the costuming thing? All of your thoughts.
Well, I think, look, I thought the Grinch, I love the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas animated film. You know, it was a staple of my childhood. I thought the movie was a bit too much, a little overbearing, but I understand why. But I do think that, again, if they came up with a great story, I'm all about the story. And I do think they could probably, the effects technology has increased. If you look at what they did for like Davy Jones in Pirates of the Caribbean, they might be able to do some kind of a hybridization of, they might have makeup on his face, but the body and everything could be motion captured, but
that's not a bad compromise.
Yeah. And I think that because now when they have, you can get out of someone's face. I mean, look at Avatar. Look what they're doing with that technology. And with Jim Carrey's face, I agree with you. What he does with his face and what he does with his motion. But I do think that effects technology and maybe that's why he even agreed to do it, because they assured him, like, look, bro, you're not going to spend we're going to be shooting for 5 months or whatever. You won't have to deal with that makeup. We'll do a prosthetic. We'll do an appliance on your face, but we're going to do a hybridization of what's been done. Because look, when I saw like Davy Jones for, what was that, Pirates of the Caribbean 3, that was astonishing.
Oh, that was groundbreaking at the time.
It was just incredible, like CG prosthetic makeup, unbelievable. And what they've done, I mean, Avatar's proved that they can do just about anything. But there's something, I would still, like you, I would want his face to look like you can reach out and touch it, like it's there, because so much of his humor, especially as the Grinch, his character, I want to see him. But I bet that's how they were able to entice him to come back.
So face makeup, technology. but then motion capture suit to CGI. I'm fine. You know what? I accept that as a compromise. It's just got to be Jim Carrey's face. By the way, somebody, Pretty 3095 says in the live chat, something I was just thinking too. The Benedict Cumberbatch animated Grinch movie that came out a few years ago was surprisingly good.
Yes, it was.
It was surprisingly entertaining. I remember me and Cody Miller flew out so he and I could go see a Fantastic Beasts movie. And I think we double featured it up with this. I think that was the one we did. Anyway, that one was really good too. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? According to reports in Variety and other outlets, it looks like Ron Howard and Jim Carrey are going to come back to do another Grinch movie. I love the idea. I mean, it might turn out to be a disaster, but I personally love the idea. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, listen. We still have a couple things to talk about in the world of the MCU, including a new report claiming that Blade, Mahershala Ali's Blade, the one they announced 45 years ago, is apparently going to be making his debut in Avengers Secret Wars. Should we believe it? Also, there's a leaked scene going around out there for Avengers Doomsday. We're here to tell you it is asterisk real. We're going to talk about that things and a few things more. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second here and thank the sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show, our friends at Hims. Guys, we want to take a second and thank a sponsor of today's video, Hims. You know, one of the hardest things about trying to lose weight is just figuring out what actually works. Because we've seen them all. There are a million trends, diets, and gimmicks out there. And honestly, it can get overwhelming. And that's why Weight Loss by Hims really stands out. Hims now offers access to an affordable range of FDA-approved GLP-1 medications, including the Wegovy pill at its lowest price ever and the Wegovy pen. With Wegovy at Hims, lose up to 20% or more of your body weight when combined with diet and exercise. It helps you regulate your appetite and eat less, so success is within reach. Plus, Wegovy is the first ever and only GLP-1 available in a pill for weight loss, so there are no needles needed. And the process is extremely convenient. Everything happens online. You connect with a licensed provider who determines if treatment is right for you, and if prescribed, your medication gets delivered right to your door. No insurance necessary. Ready to reach your goals? Visit hims.com/Campea to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's HIMS.com/Campea. hims.com/Campea. Based on advertised cash price for 30-day supply of medication only. Membership required, fee not included, and billed separately. Weight Loss by Hims is not available in all 50 states. Wegovy is the registered trademark of Novo Nordisk AS. To get started and learn more, including important safety information, Wegovy clinical study information, and restrictions, visit hims.com. And thank you to our friends at Hims for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this. Well, you guys might remember that back in 1872, Kevin Feige got on stage at Comic-Con and announced that Mahershala Ali was going to be Blade. That was back, I believe, when my grandfather first came over on the boat from Italy. It's been a long time. So long, in fact, that most of us don't really kind of believe it's actually going to happen anymore. Mahershala Ali, who is a two-time Academy Award-winning actor, my one criticism, my one apprehension, if you will, about his casting as Blade at the time was he might be a little too old to start playing a long-term character in the MCU. Well, that was 6 years ago, and he's even older now. We've heard a lot of things, maybe now, maybe not. But a new rumor, and we have to file this one under the rumor mill, okay? This one's filed under the rumor mill. But according to a new rumor here, Mahershala Ali is going to set to debut in Avengers Secret Wars. Now, from what I've been able to piece together from the different places reporting this all comes from one place, which is our friend Jeff Snyder, who apparently kind of hinted at it, implied on it on his podcast that he does there with John Roca, that it looks like we're going to get Mahershala Ali coming into Secret Wars. All right. There's two different questions that we always ask when we approach, rumor type stuff.
I love rumor.
Questions. The two questions that we always ask are, one, do we believe this is believable? Second, if we assume it's true for a moment, how would we feel about it? All right, so let's start with that first question there. Do I think this rings at all believable? Well, there's some things going for it and going against it. Going against it are the fact that clearly they haven't started shooting this movie yet. So nobody has seen Mahershala Ali on set or anything like that. So there's no real tangible evidence that this is true. However, I'm going to lean to the believable side of this. The reason being is Kevin Feige has consistently maintained that it is still the plan to have the great Mahershala Ali play Blade. He has never wavered from that. He's never said we're getting ready to shoot a new movie, but he's always maintained that it is still the plan to have Mahershala Ali do it. Mahershala Ali has continued to say, despite some frustrations, that he still wants to play the character. All that. The second thing that I find believable about it is that I think they are literally going to go to Home Depot and hire people in line there to play different Marvel characters. Because I believe while Rob, a lot of Marvel movies will have a lot of Marvel characters, I think they're going to throw the kitchen sink in Secret Wars. Like I think in Secret Wars, anybody who is even an extra in an old Fox version of a Marvel movie, they're going to bring back and put in Secret Wars. I mean, I don't have any, proof of that. That's just, I'm kind of thinking I have on it. So it presents them with an opportunity too, because if one of the things they're having a hard time with is really cracking the code on coming up with a full, complete, quality Blade script, this gives you an easy entry. You don't have to have a fully fleshed out Blade story. All you need to do is have a good part and to bring him in, whether he's there for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. It gives you the opportunity to at least break the seal and say, okay, Mahershala Ali is at least now in the MCU. So would I bet $100 on this being real? No. But I'm going to lean towards it being believable to me because of all the reasons that I just listed. Well, that brings up the second question. If it is real, okay, just assuming for the sake of fun that it was real. And by the way, big thank you to Sora fan who sent in 5 John Campea gift memberships. Thank you so much for that, Sora fan. Appreciate that very much, man. Let's assume for a moment that it is true. Okay. It might not be, but let's just, for the fun of the discussion, let's assume that it is. How would I feel about it? Same way I've been feeling about it since the day they announced it back in 1614, that he was coming. I love the idea. I do. Again, I am still a little bit apprehensive about his age because I believe he's 55 now. I believe he's 55, which is fine to play Blade once or twice. But if you're looking at a character who you'd like to have around for 10 years, but even with that, he's a 2-time Academy Award winner, might actually end up being a 3-time Academy Award winner. He's got that new one coming out that they previewed for us at CinemaCon, Rob. So, I mean, it's never a bad idea to add talent. So and the fact that I think they're going to try to stuff as many characters into Secret Wars as possible, I like the idea. So Rob, overall, I'm going to say I'll lean towards believing it. And then assuming we believe it, I like the idea. Same 2 questions to you. Do you find it believable or not? And then regardless of your answer to that, assume it's real for a second. How would you feel about it? The floor is yours.
Well, I think that, first of all, I love Mahershala Ali as Blade. I love this idea. I would love to see him as Blade. I love Mahershala Ali as a performer. I love the way he looks. I like the sound of his voice. I love watching him act. He's tremendous. So him playing Blade is something I've always wanted to see. And I think that the version of Blade that Wesley Snipes played in Deadpool and Wolverine prove that you can skew a little older and still be a kick-ass Blade.
For a one-shot thing.
Yeah, for a one-shot thing. But here's my fear about Secret Wars. So for anybody who knows the story of Secret Wars, and I have no idea how they're going to adapt it to film, but since they're destroying the multiverse, in Secret Wars, Doctor Doom creates Battleworld. And Battleworld is broken into these nation states that are run by various factions, characters that we know. The one thing that we don't know about, because we've never seen it, is how do vampires and much of the supernatural world work in the MCU? Now, in something like Werewolf by Night, we got a really interesting taste. We got to see Man-Thing, we got to see Werewolf by Night. We got a little other feelings of the supernatural realm. And I think that, like with Civil War, they can introduce Black Panther. I think it would be tough, not impossible, to introduce Blade and I guess a whole vampire contingent on Battleworld that they would later be able to adapt into the MCU Mark II going forward. So
MCU Mark II.
I mean, I'm going to call it that. The MCU
like
Mark
that.
II. The MCU Mark II. Point 2, but Mark II, that's what I'm in my own head canon. That's what I'm calling, because the Iron Man armors, the different Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3. So I am trepidatious about how they would handle it, but if they do, I can't wait to see what a vampire nation or what vampires would look like, or the supernatural realm would look like on Battleworld. I don't envy the Russo brothers and Marvel with Secret Wars, because I can't even wrap my head around what they're going to do based on the comic.
There's a lot of different directions they can go.
Yeah.
I know you've always had this one apprehension about it, which is understandable, about, listen, as long as the MCU's been around, we've never had vampires. Like, how are you going to suddenly introduce that there's this element? The thing, and I don't think you're wrong for feeling that way, but the one thing that makes me me personally not really worry about it too much is they kind of faced a similar situation with the introduction of witches and witchcraft.
They did.
And I thought they navigated that fairly well. Like, between with Wanda and the Multiverse of Madness and then going into Agatha, I thought they actually set it up and did it quite well. And if they can apply, now, it's not an apples to apples comparison, but I think some of the principles are the same. And I think if they can apply that same kind of detail to vampires, I'm not suspecting they're going to have too much trouble with it. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think it's interesting to me because magic wielders, those are still human beings wielding arcane powers, whereas the mutants and vampires are a race. They're actually vampires are the undead and mutants have the X gene. So they're and vampires, I would imagine, would be very old because you have a depending on what they're going to do, vampirism came from antiquity. So you have a whole lineage of vampires. And I don't necessarily think, the same problem, where have the mutants been and where have the vampires have been. Now, I don't think they can't surmount that. That's not insurmountable. We just haven't seen vampires. Vampires have been around the whole time. We just haven't had any reason to see them because none of the stories involved. I would like to know, if you're a vampire, though, and Thanos snapped his fingers, do vampires disappear?
Since
Because
all
they're the
living
undead?
But they're undead.
But they're undead.
That's right. Do vampires, since they are not living that's a very good
that's
question.
just me being a nerd, total imagination connoisseur. I'm like, I wonder if the vampires disappeared. But no, I mean, they can surmount that, and I've always look, one of my favorite X-Men covers is the X-Men meeting Dracula. It's actually,
right. Yep.
I think was it Storm? And so I'm in. I can't wait to see. I just want to see. I want to see a whole vampire nation, a vampire realm on Battle World. Bring it on.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? There is a rumor going around that Mahershala Ali will finally make his debut as Blade in Avengers Secret Wars. Do you find it believable? I think there's some evidence there to suggest it could be real. There's also some good arguments about why it might not be, but just assume for a second that it is real. How would you feel about it at this point? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's go on and talk about this, shall we? Well, of course, Avengers Doomsday is coming, and it's the talk of the town because it is going to be the #1 movie of the year. Some people think it might end up being the #1 box office film of all time. I don't think it'll get there, but it's going to be huge, and of course, everybody's discussing it. Well, the other day, a supposed leak of a clip came out, and I saw this clip. And again, for full disclosure, those of you know, both Rob and I are pretty much fully read in on everything that happens in Avengers Doomsday. But I looked at it and it was a very low quality thing. And I looked at it and I thought, no, this is fake. This is fake. And so I had a few people write into me and say, John, what do you think about this leaked clip? And I'm like, fake. Just totally fake. Don't worry about it. Well... See, then what happened is that my good friend Robert Meyer Burnett.
Oh, don't throw me under the bus.
You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong.
I'm just kidding.
But somebody placed into his hands a much higher quality, clear, discernible version of the clip in question.
I don't know where it came from.
Right. It just dropped into your lap. That happens a lot. It does happen.
Chaos magic.
Chaos magic.
Clearly it was Scarlet Witch.
And we looked at it and well, now that we can clearly see what's happening in here, I'll say this. It seems very consistent with what we know about the movie. And so I had to go do a 180 and go from saying, this is fake to, this is real.
Me too.
This is real. This clip is real. That clip you've seen going around, guys, it's real. Now, that being said, I do want to put this out there. If you saw in the title of this video, there's a little asterisk beside the word real. And the reason I'm going to put that asterisk in there is this. While I may know a lot of stuff that happens in Doomsday, I have not seen anything. And people can do magic stuff with AI these days. So I cannot sit here and 100% tell you that actual frame-by-frame footage is legitimately the stuff that the Russo brothers shot on set with the actual actors. Maybe this is AI recreated thing of that scene. What I can say, and I think what Rob will also say, is that regardless whether it's the actual in-camera stuff shot by the Russo brothers or somebody got their hands on the script and did an AI recreation of a scene, either way, that is from the story of the movie. That is from the story of the movie and what we saw. And suddenly, Rob, it looked really damn good. It looked really good. Now, here's the good thing for you guys. For those of you who've already seen the clip in question, if any of you were worried about having a lot of the movie spoiled from you, watching this clip actually doesn't really spoil much. Like, there's no major narrative shift that is revealed in this clip. Like, there's nothing to reveal per se. It's just a badass, very, very cool looking thing. As a matter of fact, the folks over here at Geek Tyrant actually shared one of the images, which I will not, but I will just show you the website. And of course, very reminiscent of the big Avengers pose from the first Joss Whedon Avengers film, and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, Rob, I think you were in, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you were in the same boat as me. Somebody's correcting me. And you're right. I just said I haven't seen anything from the movie, but somebody just corrected me in the live chat. John, you saw the stuff at CinemaCon. Okay. Yeah. Yes, I did see the trailer. Okay. So there's that. But I think you were in the same boat as me, that when you first saw that low res thing going around, I don't think you bought its legitimacy either, unless I'm mistaken about that. You have also, like me, had your mind changed. Oh yeah, this is pretty legit. What did you think about the piece? And was this a legitimate leak, or is Marvel playing the Sony game and kind of trickling stuff out themselves? What do you think?
Okay, the one thing about this thing that gives me pause is the actual composition of the shots. Because obviously they're playing off the idea from the first Avengers, when all the Avengers land and the camera spins around all the Avengers. They're playing off of that, but there's a few things about the way these shots are done and the composition of the shots that gives me pause. And while it's convincing and it's well done, I think it's really convincing. And it certainly plays into a certain part in the film, which, by the way, is heavily referenced in the trailer that we saw. There's a certain section of the movie and a certain place, a certain location in the movie that was heavily featured, and so does this. But some of the shots and the whole, I just think the Russos are better directors than that. And some of when the cameras are spinning around, the characters they're like off to the side too much. And like they just weren't, it's the fake is very, very good if it's faked. Now, if it's real, I would imagine it's still, it's iterative. It's in process, because sometimes when you do effects movies, John, as you know, you might do 20 different versions of an effect shot as you're refining it and adding to it. And they do that a lot on these Marvel films. So it is pretty convincing, except the two things that give me pause are the use of the Sentinels and what's going on. And the, because I will say this, from what I know and what I remember, because remember, I'm going back, the issue of the Sentinels, and then the issue of when Captain America and Thor know that Doctor Doom is a villain, seems wrong in this. But it's just because I can't remember. There's, it was a while ago. So some of this, it seems very convincing, but I'm not 100% positive.
Right. But what you are positive about is this is from the movie. I mean,
yes. Whoever
whether it's
did this,
actually shot or AI, it is from the movie. Yeah.
Yes, because I could tell you exactly where and what's going on, and it seems that part of it, because that part of it you'd have to know in order to do it.
Right.
You couldn't do this. This is not a shot in the dark. So this is very much legit, but that could be based on leaks, leaks that have previously been made.
By the way, I look at this shot and I have zero doubt. I mean, I don't know this as fact. From the perspective of theory, I feel about as certain as I can that what we saw on this clip is going to be in a future trailer. I think this is going to be very much in a future trailer at some point. But let me bring up the question again, Rob, that you didn't answer.
Oh.
Do we believe that this is a leak?
Oh, yeah. Okay. From Marvel.
Or is this yet? Because look, you and I are in the camp that Sony is not a sieve. Sony does not have like massive security problems where like everything is getting leaked. You and I are totally in the camp that Sony themselves are leaking
because yes, they
all
had
their
that
own stuff.
They had that massive data breach. So if there's one thing that Sony knows how to do now, it's cybersecurity.
Yes. And you and I believe that. Do we believe this scene? Because we've all been asking the question, why haven't they put out the trailer that they showed us back in April? Why have they not put this trailer out? Is this actually a leak? Because they've been pretty tight so far. Or is this Disney looking at how Sony is managing the Spider-Man marketing with these, what is to us obviously fake leaks? I mean, we can't prove that, but that's our opinion. Is this a legitimate leak that somebody leaked this out, or is this a carefully orchestrated thing by Disney putting it out themselves and using it to build hype? I don't know. What do you think?
I think it is, John, it's either, I wouldn't have thought that something like this would ever get out 6 months ago or a year ago. But in this day and age, the fact that it's generated, look at what these leaks do and how much response it gets, maybe even more so than a trailer, because people keep talking about it. And we're doing a segment on it right now. And it's been out for what, like a week now? And or dropped last weekend, and we're talking about it. But on the other hand, if this is not a sanctioned leak, that is a real problem, because if it came from an effects house, if this came from an effects house, or there's people saying that hackers released it or something, this is very problematic, because if you're spending this much money on a movie, nobody wants to get, especially the filmmakers, unfinished effects work out into the world. It's really not fair, because the general audience doesn't know the difference, and it can be incredibly damaging. And they've taken down some of the places that have hosted these things, but not all of them. So it's hard to say. But on the other hand, I keep thinking about what Mark Ruffalo once said when he was at, I don't know if it was a Thor movie, and he left his phone on, and like the sound of the movie at the premiere was playing.
Oh, right.
Over his
yes,
phone.
I remember that. That's right.
And he thought he was totally in trouble. And Kevin Feige came up to him and said, "No, it was genius," because it just ginned up all of this interest, and people thought they were getting something that they shouldn't be getting. At this point, it's not like they have to. So much happens in Avengers Doomsday. You could probably show the first hour of the movie and people still wouldn't know what's going to happen.
By the way, that reminds me of this. You mentioned it's being taken. It used to be that if something came out and you wondered if it was fake or real, that if the studio started having it taken down, that means it was real.
Right.
But that's not necessarily true anymore, because a couple of years ago, a couple of the studios, what their legal department basically told them was the fact that even if somebody creates something to look like it's a real thing of your movie, that's copyright violation, number one. Then they put it out. If it's believable that it's real and from your movie, that could damage your IP. That could damage the brand. That could
Yes.
damage your movie. And what started happening just a couple of years ago is that in some circumstances, studios started having even some fake stuff taken down because they didn't want it to be confused with their legitimate product. I'm not saying that happens all the time, but it's no longer the case that if a studio takes something down, that does not automatically anymore mean that that must have been real then. So
Yep.
that just adds to the confusion a little bit. So we'll see. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Yeah, that leaked thing that just came out, pretty sure it's real. It's at least legitimately from the movie, but whether that's the stuff they actually shot or somebody's AI recreation, we can't say for sure because we haven't seen the actual scene. We don't know. But what do you think about it? Whatever you guys think. Oh, and also, do you think this is an actual security breach leak? Or is this Disney itself orchestrating a leak to get idiot shows like ours to talk about it and pump and promote the damn thing? I don't know. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. And all right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Of course, big special thank you to writer, director, producer Robert Meyer Burnett. Great job as always, my friend, and we will talk to you again next week.
Yes, sir. I will see you on Monday.
And a big thanks to all you guys, the thousands of you guys who are in the live chat, talking it up, giving us information so that we always learn from you guys as well, and giving your funny lines and stuff like that. Thank you so much for joining us in there. So that'll do it for us for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.